yesterday what we talked about was mostly Kanye West, his situation. And I looked over my previous video, my last live stream, and I wanted to make some points about lookalikes or clones. I use the word clones to really capture attention. Um, when I say clone, it could, who knows, maybe there's some scientific or what is that, science fiction thing where they can clone people. I don't know. I'm not going to say it doesn't exist, but who knows? You know, some people say that the reason for the mummies being preserved was to be able to be cloned later on. So you have that to work with now. Anyway, when I say cloned, I really mean lookalikes. And when I mean lookalikes, it could be, usually I would think maybe a homeless person or a bum of some sort. Someone, low IQ. I can't say that really. I take that back because you never know. Everyone's, all humans are very intelligent. And, but what I'm saying is they might find lookalikes that are not as, in bad situations, maybe even foreigners that look like these people and speak broken English, and their handlers pretty much own them. So, yeah, that's pretty, we're getting really deep. But the idea is that there are business interests that are, okay, so go back even further. Clones, lookalikes. Since the beginning of time, monarchies, kings and queens, celebrities, people of any importance have used lookalikes. We can do a lot of research into it. I would love to do some more lives where I can do more research about that. So we will go into that. Who knows, maybe today. I know last episode I did not get to touch up on it, but I'll eventually do some research into it, maybe even today. Who knows how we go. But I had my intention really was to bring forth a few points, and one of the points was the lookalike or the clones. And so the elites, politicians have been monarchies, kings and queens have been using these lookalikes. And so I'll let you research that. We'll get to it. But what recently, the Beatles were known to use lookalikes. I'm not talking about the Paul is dead theory. I'm talking about, to get people, pretty much get through crowds, sway people in different directions than where they actually are, to deceive people. The fans, the Beatlemania, so they didn't get crushed by their fans. And Michael Jackson, I'm not sure if about any situations where he has used a lookalike, but I know in his tour back in like 98 or 97, maybe 95, I just keep going further and further back, but he's playing a Super Bowl and he has all these lookalikes in all the corners. And I asked the co-pilot, Microsoft's artificial intelligence, what that thought about the use of lookalikes, and it was saying that these lookalikes are commonly used. The point is, I think it's safe, and I think we should consider that they're probably the celebrities you see on TV more than likely are lookalikes. I would just assume that they're a lookalike and they're not the real celebrity, because you never know when it's going to be the real one. They even send lookalikes to marketing events for the public and stuff. So they'll get up and even say some stuff. Like that footage we looked at of Kanye West yesterday, that 2024 interview, it either was a lookalike or it was or Kanye's on medicine, like psychiatric medicine, which dulls his personality a lot, and makes him a heck of a lot less sharp, and they could just play pre-recorded lyrics, so it doesn't matter really who's on stage. We know that about DJs could be anyone, Milli Vanilli. So think about it like that. You never know when these guys are really playing, when they're not, and if they're even the real people, if those people even exist. I wonder if in any history of our society, it had to have happened. Had to have been celebrities that are created that don't even exist in reality, and they constantly use. Who knows? Maybe that's even going on right now. They're constantly using lookalikes because it's a business interest, and you really don't have. They really don't have to tell you the secrets of their trade. Those are. I would assume if someone, if there's a constructed persona, and it interacted with society through multiple lookalikes, the people that own that business persona would not have to disclose their trade secrets. And and it goes back into contracts, and what Kanye was saying, or what Ye was talking about, is these attorneys will pretty much, there's ways to get insurance policies. So what I always heard about Michael Jackson was he was the biggest celebrity in the world. He's about to go on the biggest tour in the world. Literally the biggest tour in the world, the most extravagant, the most money spent, the biggest crowds, everything. Um, and so when they had, so before the tour even kicked off, when it was announced and everyone was getting ready for it, all the business contracts were set up probably already. The whole tour was probably scheduled, and so all the contracts were signed, dated, and in all those contracts there were clauses, insurance policies, probably purchased. I guess if you have a contract, you can probably get an insurance policy on the contract. I'm not privy to exactly how that works out, but I would suppose they got insurance on it. So the whole deal is Michael Jackson, he's about to do this big tour. Everyone's insured up to the gills, the production companies, the lawyers, and whatever. And he was literally worth more dead than alive. So he was murdered. Someone went to jail for his murder. Or maybe they went to jail for the negligence. I'm not sure exactly. Well, we could check it out. Let's see real quick. And so we're going to do what we did yesterday, something similar. So to get this Copilot up, all you gotta do is hit Windows C. I learned that from a short. Also, I wanted to check out Pasternak's wife and just show you the creepiness of his wife as total MK Ultra. I wonder if he's listening to this. He probably doesn't. Hopefully he doesn't waste his time, but it sounds like the guy's got a lot of time on his hands if he can pretty much just like stalk celebrities, if that's true. But yeah, it's just, his wife is just, it's just, my opinion is going to be probably shared by you as well, but we'll get into that. And so what we were asking was, shoot, what were we asking? Oh man, I went blank here. Hold on, let me get a sip of coffee. We'll come back to it. We were talking about, yeah, who went to jail? Michael Jackson. Who killed Michael Jackson, and what were the charges? I love this. So convenient. Is something dirty? It's a little dirty. Oh my god. Fudging A, man. Fudging A, my man. This phone can only take so many friggin' drops, constantly polishing. My apologies. Okay. All right. Dr. Conrad Murray was the physician involved in the tragic demise of legendary pop star Michael. Cause of death, prescription overdose. All right. Well, didn't answer my question really. Oh, maybe I hit some button or something. All right. Let's see what this guy is. Literally, what he is. All right. Okay. Wow, they really like this guy, giving him involuntary manslaughter. Okay, there we go. So you see how this game theory worked out, right? So, well, this is how the game theory probably worked out in my brain. This is like, so this guy was told to murder Michael, and there's a lot of money. Michael is worth more dead than alive. So Dr. Murray, this is my opinion, Dr. Murray was given the orders to murder Michael. He was charged with involuntary manslaughter. He was released. He only served 4 years. Who knows what that was all about, He might have, that was probably, how much time he spent out of jail. But he got out in 2013. He probably lost his license. Maybe. He might have been able to appeal it. I'm not sure. But he didn't do much time. I'm sure he was given the orders to kill off Michael. And he was only given the charge of involuntary manslaughter. 4 years of time he had to serve. And he was off. And who knows what kind of backdoor money was involved. But that's what happened to Michael Jackson. I wonder if these guys knew that he wasn't going to be able to perform this concert. And so they're like, all right, well, we got to get rid of him before it even starts. Because Michael was in terrible condition. Remember that. Michael was in... Let's look back at Michael and see what terrible condition he was in before he left us. And then we'll get back to the Pasternak situation, which I got some things to say. Michael Jackson video before his death. Let's see what this guy was about. Rare footage hours before, eh? Wow. He looked a hell of a lot better than he was, but, fuck, dude, he looks messed up. Oh my god. Poor Michael, what'd they do to you? Alright, let's get another view. That was only a 17-second one. Jesus, hey, man. I want to speed it down. We'll do quarter speed. There's our guy. He looks messed up, dude. He looks geeked. Like the Joker. He looks so geeked. Absolute tiny, skinny body. Those hands are huge. The hands of an entertainer. Prestidigitation. Who knows? I wonder if that's even a look-alike. Or if Michael was kept on so much drugs, he wasn't able to think for himself. He even lost the right to even take care of himself. He lost his right to speak for himself because he was so wrapped up in contracts, binded by the spells of man. And then his life was separated from him. His body and his soul were separated by the law merchants. That's my opinion. Okay. So I was watching I was watching a few gentlemen have a conversation. I'm not sure exactly the name of the program. Let me see if I can pull it up. But it was a three-piece talk, and they were speaking about Kanye. They went in some good detail. Let's see if I can find this thing. Yeah, I also posted a Russian speech, and it was a little creepy. I didn't realize how creepy it was, actually. Well, it wasn't creepy, it's just, the guy's also saying he's pro Vladimir Putin and the thing. And I think the interview that I posted was from maybe the 2000s or 90s or something, but it had some good information. So don't get too wrapped up in the Putin. I'm not a Russian agent. At least I don't think I am. I don't know. At this point, like I was saying, you never know anymore. Where is this interview? Still looking. Wow, I can't believe I can't find that thing. Okay, here it is. Okay, William Ramsey channel. I was watching this, The Curious World of Harley Pasternak. I was watching this the other day. I didn't watch it all, but I watched a good amount of it. The Curious, yeah, so it is by William Ramsey, and they made a good point. One of the guys on there wasn't William, but one of the other co-hosts. I guess I could just click on it and figure out who the guy is. Brett Psyop Cinema. I don't watch him, but he made a good point that Pasternak, he is a physical therapist, and he was practicing medicine practically. And so this guy's able to get in right into the body. So he was feeding these celebrities, so he can be a handler because he can be pretty much feeding these people drugs that will alter their minds, these celebrities. There's information, he has an interview where he talks about he specialized in modafinil, which is a drug that will keep humans up for like 48 hours straight. It's not a stimulant, but it relaxes the body so that it doesn't stress out due to lack of sleep for those 48 hours. Anyway, so he was doing, he's known for researching chemicals that stimulate the body or help the body. The chemicals manipulate the body to either be up or down, or he can manage how the body interacts, the biology of the body. And if he wants to slow your neurons, or maybe put some coating over your neuron snaps or something, he knows exactly what to put your diet on. He knows exactly how to train you. He knows what drugs to feed you to make you probably and this is all my opinion, but he probably knows what drugs will make you a zombie. And he knows exactly how to administer those drugs in a way that you will be able to operate at your minimum function, like Kanye West in that 2004 interview I showed you last episode. He was pretty much he was being tossed softball questions. What's your favorite food? What's your zodiac? Real, scripted questions, easy scripted questions, nothing complicated. So you can make someone operate at a dimwit level, smart enough just to operate what you need them to operate. And that was so that's what's fascinating. There's a whole history of Russia, Stalin, So the Planet of the Apes, this is a side note, the Planet of the Apes was written by a French spy. This French spy, it was, he wrote the Planet of the Apes, so he wrote about human ape hybrids taking over the world. Well, those human ape hybrids, the theory was, that's not in the book, is that when he was a spy during World War One or two, I'm not sure exactly, like maybe two, but this French spy who wrote Planet of the Apes might have seen Stalin's invention. I learned about this from Douglas Dietrich. Look him up on YouTube. I'll show you his channel real quick. I love the guy. I have a love-hate relationship with him. Sometimes I think he's full of shit. But a lot of times if I look into his research, it's like he'll talk about nooks and crannies of information where it turns out a lot of it's true, and it's just when you hear it, it's just like it's the kind of information when you hear, you're like, you don't want to accept it at first, but then you start thinking about it and it's like, oh my gosh. So here you go, let me show you him, let me promo him. Douglas Dietrich, pronounced Dietrich. He does a podcast Wednesday and Sundays, and he starts at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and they're 12-hour transmissions. They're kind of like a party line mixed with monologue, mixed with facts, and just interesting conversation. Multiple guests on the show. I listen whenever I can. He has books also. We'll get into books. I've got a few of them, and I need to review them. Anyway, so what he has brought to our attention was the writer of Planet of the Apes was a French spy and might have seen Stalin's invention, which was a human-ape hybrid. The reason why the communists wanted to create a human-ape hybrid was for the purpose of selling to the capitalist. The capitalist that owned manufacturing mechanisms and warehouse and systems in the United States, in particular, warehouse workers. And the idea was to replace warehouse workers with human ape hybrids that would need nothing more than just food and shelter. They wouldn't need health insurance. They would use an infirmary. They didn't need vacation or time off. Their only life would be working and eating and sleeping. So pretty much create a race of sapient type beings. Not sapient, they'd be a homo something, not sapient though. Currently, right now, what we are Homo sapiens sapiens. That I don't know, I can't explain it. That's what I've been told. Our current form of humans are Homo sapiens sapien. That can be debated, I suppose. So, that's an interesting one we can get further into. Human ape hybrids. And so what that kind of parallels, what I'm saying that parallels into, is that celebrities. The celebrity handlers want these celebrities to only do what they're told. Do the bare minimum. They don't want them thinking. They don't want celebrities talking politics. That's why it's in their contract. They're literally bound at the mouth. They have binding contracts that are pretty much gag orders. These gag orders don't allow them to speak freely. So that's why you're most, like Kanye, apparently in that last interview, the drinking one, he had a 2024 hat on, but he could not wear the Trump hat. It must have been something in his contract, and he even said it too. So those are the demons we're working against. And I feel it's because I can see it, my willing suspension of disbelief is altered and somewhat degraded. I feel it's necessary to tell you that you never know whenever you're looking at a celebrity, it could be a lookalike. You don't know. They've been used throughout history. And to say that what I'm saying is there's anything wrong with it, you have to consider that as well. Why would you say that? We don't know for sure if these people are there or lookalikes. We don't know. Money makes people do weird things. So, that's how you make a clone. A clone is either a drugged individual or a lookalike. Mental capacity, more than likely, would be, yeah, I would suppose maybe they would go for a lower mental capacity person that was a lookalike. If they couldn't find a lookalike that with a low mental capacity they can manage, they would either alter the original celebrity or with drugs, or alter the lookalike with drugs as well. So it's a dirty game. We can think of Anna Nicole Smith. It's when you bring the law into these things, and then you bring in people that know how to use the law, like to wield the law so that your agent has more say so in your own affairs than you do. Your company that like you're producing for has more of a right to your body than you have a right to your body. People get in those situations. Those exist. I think we should understand that that is a form of slavery, indentured servitude. It is a form, yeah, it's a form of indentured servitude that still exists. And look at that, the black community suffers from it because they just happen to be great athletes, great singers, great musicians. So these guys have all the talent, and what Ye was saying was it doesn't matter if they're Jewish or whatever, just whoever's owning them, there should not be the ownership like that. And they take advantage of these people that are starving for attention. They're, psychologically probably already damaged. And so these people with money are offering, celebrity status to these artists, and these artists are usually chomping at the bit. They've been cutting their teeth without getting compensated fairly, and then they get a great, because that's what it's all about. It's all about taking off. It's anyone who's in the show business. They're not going to. Some might say they don't want to take off, but it's the whole thing is about taking off. You want it started in the beginning because you want your message to be heard. And then from there, we don't know what, everyone's got greed and, whatever. But the idea is to spread and get your message out there. So they take advantage of these people that can offer contracts. They take advantage of these, struggling artists, and a lot of them are black people, they're already from a tough environment, and then you offer them all these luxuries with a contract, and you make sure, like sometimes these guys don't even know what kind of contract they're signing, so, they sign away their whole life. That's possible, and all their work is owned by someone else, which is unfair, and we should really change that. Contract law is something, but then when it comes to slavery, we really need to define what slavery is. So even contracts can't hide what slavery is, like, because you can hide whatever you want behind a contract, and you can do anything. Like P. Diddy, what I'm saying is, like, P. Diddy, he had all these people sign non-disclosure agreements. It doesn't matter if it's a non-disclosure agreement, and it's criminal activity. So even if it is a civil non-disclosure agreement, it doesn't matter. It doesn't protect crime, so it's kind of the same concept. If we can develop laws that can protect people from indentured servitude, which is a type of labor trafficking, which is a form of human trafficking, then these contracts would be able to be challenged, and these nefarious people would be able to be held accountable, and the assets they possess that were, I'm going to say from my heart, ill-gotten, would be redistributed. And if you think that's tough, Think about what attorneys do every day. They re-administer everyone's wealth. The courts re-administer wealth all the time. Um, I was in Kroger the other day, and there's a guy, older guy, and whenever I'm wherever I go, I usually start a conversation with people. So there's an older guy, and he was telling me how he's getting all these charges on his credit cards, and I told him, I was like, hey man, the way the beast is kind of set up is the United States corporation, this reality that we've created, gets all these people incentivized to save and stockpile their money, to squirrel all their assets, their wealth, squirrel it, build it up, invest, do all this work throughout your whole life, toiling to build your wealth. And then in the very last days, they come up and they just cherry pick them. And, if you go through probate and stuff, yeah, they're going to take a bunch of your wealth. And these guys are trying to promote ways to go around it, but unless, like George Carlin said it, unless you're in the club and you have the money for attorneys that can defend your work, there's probably no way around it. Anyways, so this guy's getting charges on his credit cards, and I told him, I think there's probably it's a J.C. Penney credit card. And I told him we're at the point already where these companies are selling off their customers' data and they're claiming they get hacked. My opinion is that these companies' marginal revenue is declining, so they're fighting like hell, finding out where they're going to get their next income, where they're going to get their next meal ticket. And what they do is they sell out their customers' information. They sell their customers' information, claim they got hacked or someone stole it, and they get the income. And then whoever gets the information gets to do whatever they want with it. And so I think it leads all the way up back into some sort of federal level redistribution policy where these people in the government have let open a door for scam artists to attack our seniors and to pretty much when these seniors are in their kind of the degrading cognitive stage, they'll attack. These scammers will call in, and I saw on the old people channel they're giving off these telephones with a text screen, so whatever the person says you can read it, and it's federally subsidized, so incentivized. If someone's on Social Security, they're going to get one of these phones for free. All they got to do is just reach out and ask for it. And to me, it makes sense that the text shows, the screens just to show an Indian foot person. So if you can't, maybe if you're hearing impaired, but also, so if an Indian person calls and the old person's like, what's going on? And they could be like, oh yeah, you need to get, your Microsoft's been hacked. And they can read it and they're like, oh my God, my computer's been hacked. And he's like, and you know how those guys swindle. They have to get their awful gift of gab. So, that's how I figure that one would work. But there's a system where it seems like there's open season on our old people. It's just open season for these scam artists just to come and, pick them off. And who knows where those all lead back to. Those could all lead back to our own politicians. Those politicians have databases of information. They know exactly who's who, what assets they have, if their spouse is alive. They have access to medical information, um, and so they could pretty much finding data, and they could be selling. Yeah, it could, maybe even parts of our own government are selling off our own data, and that's what we should be worried about. And if that's the case, those are treasonous. That's treason right there. Selling, because the American people's data is just as important as our individual data. The data of the American people is very, very important as well, and that should be protected. And selling out that data should be a treasonous offense as well, because that gives into our national security. So TikTok, I don't know. You know, I have no stance in it, but I do know that if our data is being collected and used against us by the enemy, and you might not think it's the enemy, but you know, private corporations can be the enemy too. You know, they can care less. If you leave private corporations unchecked, what will result is war. They always want guns and missiles eventually. The purest form of capitalism is murdering your competitor. Let that let that sink in. The purest form of capitalism is murdering your competition. You don't think big companies are murdering their competition? There are ways to take care of people, and there's scientific avenues that haven't even been explored that are being exploited in this. So people will be, you know, put into situations and they don't even realize they're getting pressed, you know? People like that's what we're living in now. We have a slow it's a war. We're under war, you know? We're in like living during wartime, and there's constant pressure on us. Think about it like this. The work of our dollars, the theft is happening here. Our dollars that we have earned are diminishing in value. So if we work for dollars, they just keep on going down in value. And that represents energy. If you think about it, everything in the past should be more expensive than everything in the future, you know, because the past is already set to build the future on. So you'd think it would diminish as we go further into time, and that the things that we did in the past would define more or be more valuable. So if we made dollars in the past, those on building a bridge or something, then those dollars would become more valuable because over time that bridge is being used, and you know it's just the way it is. You know, it's set, and having that bridge is more valuable than not having that bridge around, and so that energy would become more valuable, I'd suppose. That's my kind of look at it, and like diminishing value of previous energy, because that's what money is. It's energy. It's converted. And then again, if that's the case, is that the case you want? So you immediately have to transfer that money into some sort of investment or asset to make money. I get that, right? So you don't want to, but all I'm saying is that old cash should be more expensive, more valuable than new cash. And why that is not the case, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe because the technology isn't there yet. Maybe we're getting there, that we can actually track that value and see that value. I don't know. Well, and then you get into issues about unit of exchange, because these products, you know, like cash would have to be. Anyways, that's a whole debate I don't want to get into, but I believe that our previous work, our previous energy should be more valuable, and maybe we should relook at the definition of cash and what cash is, and understand the concept and define it maybe a little better. Maybe there's areas in which the premises that we make of cash, what the conclusion of what cash is, some of the premises might be not founded. I don't know. Just a kind of out there thing I can think about off the top of my head that we should pursue and always consider. You know, always consider these things. All right, so let's see. Kapernak's wife. I wanted to show you this, or I keep on calling it Kaepernick. It's Pasternak. Alright, trainer. And then they got his wife, Jessica. Oh my gosh, this is the most, like, creepy thing. Look at that. Jessica's face really isn't showed. That's weird when you look her up. It's like body, nothing but body. And what is that? What is that? Was she at pasta? Let's check out these images that she's like showing off. I want you to see if you can spot anything. All I did was type this lady's name in. And so we're just going to go through Google search of her name. We'll see what kind of, see what she's all about. She's obviously into fitness. Keep watching. Jessica Hirsch. She loves pasta, sugar. Oh, look at her. Oh my gosh, is she going to eat all that? And look at her. She is just skinny as a rail. Keep watching. Wow, look at both them. Look at them. They probably hadn't eaten in a few days. You think they waited for just that moment? That doesn't even look like her. Doesn't even look like her. Completely different. Oh my god, she's so beautiful right there. I mean, she's beautiful, but she kind of looks like grayish or something. Greenish gray. Well, she looks healthy there. Yeah, and then it's like a greenish grayish color. And look at that. It looks like her eyes are sinking in. Her eyebrows are bulging. It looks like her body fat percentage is at probably about maybe 5%, which is very unhealthy. I mean, there's some people that are just that way. But my point is, Snickers, she looks like she has no body fat on her. She looks like she's a very defined person. She looks like she takes her health very, extremely serious. So someone like that, why would they be promoting such junk food and such overindulgence in food? Oh, no, her. Yeah. Alright. Always eating, always food. 90% of her work, her pictures have food in them. Like, and it's not just a little bit of food. Usually it's a food photographer's cheat day. Okay, so she's a food photographer. Yet she eats no food. She just teases herself and probably drives herself crazy by looking at all this food all the time. Well, there you go. She's got something in her mouth there. What I thought it reminded me of was the old cigarette ads. So you have the cigarettes, and you never have the models actually smoking them, but they look like they're having fun. And so what you see here, and with all this food, yeah, look at all that. It's like always like something a bulimic would do. Someone that tiny would eat all that food and then vomit it up. Her teeth look really good, so I don't think she's eating it. Jessica, yeah, see? She's still eating. That's so bizarre. Look at all that food. And look at her, yeah, she might even be like a 3%er. More food, yeah. I mean, I get it. That's her niche. And her husband is a fitness guy. There you go. Bam. That's creepy as shit. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty fascinating. Bring that up. And so, let's see. let's see if there's any, let's get Copilot up. And let's look into the celebrity lookalikes. Let's look up political people. We want to see examples of politicians using lookalikes. Andy Warhol. Okay, it just keeps on giving me the same stuff as yesterday. Abraham Lincoln and Tom Hanks resemblance. Okay, no. Joe Biden's alleged double. Actor Arthur Roberts has been suggested to be a double for Joe Biden. Arthur Roberts. I have never heard that before. And so we're going to take that lead and we're going to run with it. The internet gods have blessed me with something. Oh. Let's see. Let's go through. Let's see if we can have a Biden. Maybe. I don't know. So this thing's saying Joe Biden. Okay, it's leading me to Snopes. Hillary Clinton lookalikes. When NBC announced a mini-series based on Hillary Clinton's life, the search for suitable lookalikes began. Oh, that's creepy. There you go. That's one way to do it. Interestingly, not all Hillary Clinton lookalikes resemble each other, highlighting the nuances of celebrity impersonation. I wanted to say impersonification for some reason. Remember, the world of devils, doppelgangers, and impersonators often blur the lines between reality and pseudo-history, or examples often eclipse into the intriguing and sometimes mysterious realm of lookalikes, into politician and beyond. So yeah, so that's shows you one way they would do it. They would hold maybe castings to lookalikes, and then they would find their people and go from there. Let's see if there's any monarchy. Very old accounts of royalty using a double. Very oiled accounts. Maybe it will figure it out. Okay, they keep on saying Andy Warhol and Winston Churchill. Wow, this thing sucks. Okay, Queen's secret body double. Even modern royalty has secrets. During the national lockdown, Queen Elizabeth II had her own body double. While isolated separately, the Queen discreetly used a look-alike to maintain appearances. Alright. Conspiracy theories and pseudo-history, that's new. When discussing body double, alright, encounters. Whether it's a political decoy or artistic experimentation. That's fascinating. They could use that as I've never even considered that, an artistic experimentation. The use of doubles continues to cap, captivate our imaginations. History is full of surprises, and sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. See, you got an AI program telling you that. So, if you haven't seen the previous episode, it's about an hour and a half long. Monty's conspiracy theories, celebrities and their elite handlers. Part 1. Check that out. It's a long one, but there's a lot of information. You get to watch the Kanye West interview. And what we talk about in that one, what am I going to say? I'm trying to wrap this thing all together. So yeah, the whole deal is with Kanye. Go back, check out the old footage, check them out now. There's obviously a difference. The Kanye that we have now is just kind of like a marshmallow of the Kanye that we had back in 2022. Is it Kanye? Maybe. If it is Kanye, they have him on a lot of drugs. If it isn't Kanye, it's a lookalike. Probably some foreign dude, probably some homeless guy that they're able to, say, hey, you do what we say, you live with us, or you live with someone that, will manage you. Heck, it's probably some attorney's son that lives with the guy, always got a handle on him, always watching the look-alike, make sure he doesn't leave the hotel room or anything, and yeah, dude, it's weird when you pursue people and you get in between them and their money. They get really weird. There are people that will kill if you get in between them and their money. And they own companies. They own publicly traded companies. They're executives on publicly traded companies. Their neighbors. They're doctors. They're attorneys. They're lawyers. Their mothers. Their fathers. Their brothers. And their sisters. You never know who a killer is. And that's why we should always be, be worried about the entertainment industry. Because the whole industry, what you're watching when you watch the entertainment industry, it's all a facade. And what our people are doing is not understanding that the entertainment industry is there to deceive them. The one we have now. So when they interact with the entertainment industry, if they think anything's legitimate, they should probably reconsider that. The talent is legitimate. I get it. An artist can sing and dance and stuff. I get it. But other than that, anything that goes with it is pretty much a deception. And so we should understand that from the beginning. We shouldn't have our children grow up on entertainment, understanding that it's entertainment, but then thinking within the entertainment that the information that isn't told, that you pretty much are led to assume that you think is behind the entertainment is actually still the entertainment. So thoughts and opinions that you form from watching entertainment and thinking that it's one way on the outside is different than what is really happening to you. Just remember, you're constantly being sold. People are constantly wanting you to buy on the TV. They constantly want your money, pretty much. Your money is your energy. Don't let them steal your energy. There should be laws against it, but we're in a carnival, we're in a circus. That circus is called the United States Corporation. When you get in, you get a birth certificate and you get a social security number. It's like a ticket to get into the carnival. Most people don't realize they're in a carnival their whole life. They think that's what existence is about, is being in a carnival. You got to remember, when you're in a carnival, you don't just get charged to come in. You also get charged to use everything. All the games you want to play cost money. All the rides you want to ride cost money. All those knickknacks and things that look all shiny and fun and bootlegged. South Park stuff, bootlegged Cat in the Hat stuff that's yellow, smoking a joint. That's the stuff that we're being led with. When in reality, humans are really just peaceful creatures. And this brings up a philosophical debate. Is, yeah, I get it. What we're doing now is kind of like the idea is eventually we'll be like gods in a way as well with this technology that we can form. We can form technology that will make it so that we can pretty much manipulate matter with our thoughts, be able to create matter with our thoughts, and all that other kind of stuff, that scientific stuff that we know that God, or that we think we understand what God does. So eventually, I could. That's the only reason humanity exists, is because we're trying to reach that pinnacle. It's so. All I'm saying is that maybe that isn't the point of life, you know. Maybe the point of life is just to enjoy being a human and not try to strive to be God. Maybe that's just the way the world is. It's just an infinite loop where we're the ones that create. What came first, the chicken or the egg? We don't know. Maybe we came back in time, humans did, and set off something so that humans would form. But then again, who created the humans to come back in time originally? So it's a situation. And so that's pretty much a conundrum of life we're in that could be a possibility. And that would satisfy a lot of answers as well. And so if that were the case, the conclusion would be not to stress and not to worry too much. That life's going to be pretty much the way it is. And all I'm saying is, do we have to go so damn quick, you know? Can't we find a way to kind of blend living off grid with living on the grid? You know, blend the old ways of life with technologies we have today. It's kind of where I'm at. And so, thinking about it like that, you know, is there a point to all this, you know? And you could, and well, the idea is the nihilist issue. Humans are, there's a issue of youth being more nihilistic, that thinking nothing they do has any importance. But I think if everyone's self-realized, and once everyone gets to the point where they realize they're not having fun, you know, in the commercial world, in this world where, you know, the competition becomes so great that you're forced to go to work every day to pay for a rent so you can live somewhere, you know, and just be comfortable. And I get it, you gotta work. But the Native Americans, I was told that the Native Americans had a life where they worked when they needed to and they rested more often than not. But when it was time to work, they worked. But other than that, they just enjoyed nature. And so this goes back into, I posted a lecture. It's about it. From what I understand, I listened to the lecture, and I'm not sure exactly who the guy is or where he's from, but what I understand, he's from Russia, and he gave a lecture on like nature. He's a holistic guy. I think he runs a university that is like an agricultural based university. He was saying that most universities in Russia where he's at cater to technical career paths. And what his university is, well, the guy's a former KGB agent, and the title of the lecture is Psychological Warfare Techniques. And what this guy's pretty much just reminding us is the same thing that Jesus reminded us of. And not saying that he is Jesus, but I'm saying the concepts that they taught, where you don't need commercialism. Money's valuable. Money has a purpose, but commercialism can be dangerous. Commercialism pretty much, uh, yeah, yeah. So he's saying that commercialism is dangerous because it can take over your education. The pursuit of making money, men will take this pursuit of making money and they'll go off the rails with it. And what they'll start doing is they'll start taking over institutions that, so they'll get ahead of the sheep, they'll get ahead of the wagon, and they'll start like sports athletes. Think about it like this. Guys, I went to the University of Memphis. Monty went to the University of Memphis, and Coach Calipari, I think he's the University of Kentucky head coach still, but he was the head coach at the University of Memphis basketball team, and I knew he was good. I respected the guy, and I was told by sports fans, dedicated sports fans, that what those guys do, he was a scout. He found his way by scouting out young talent. And the way he would do this is he would be eyeing people as they're in elementary school at these basketball camps. And he would follow them until they're ready to perform. All right. So, I'm trying to wrap this in. So Calipari, man, I just lost it. Shoot. It's all right. We'll go back to the psychological warfare techniques. Where I'm saying that he's saying what Jesus was saying, that then the corporations, the companies, people. So yeah, okay. So what I was saying was that Calipari pretty much preyed on these kids their whole life. I'm saying preyed on them. He didn't really prey on them, but he watched them and he watched them develop. And so he got ahead of the wagon. Instead of waiting for their high school career to watch them, he started watching them in elementary school and stuff. So that's what these people would do. And that's what Rockefeller did. He earned so much money on the oil industry that he bought up the barrel industry. So he horizontally integrated and he vertically integrated. So he's packaging, he's buying all of his suppliers out. So the stuff that he needed to make his business happen, he would buy those guys out and just own that business. And so Rockefeller was able to get into the institutions. So he created the medical licensing, and pretty much, I don't want to get into Rockefeller, but what these guys do is they're so hardcore capitalist and want to take it to the next level, making all the money and being the monopoly man, is that they figure they'll make it so, in order to play, they'll make your whole environment their game. And you don't realize that. You're being birthed into this earth that God and Jesus gave you, but you're being put into a gladiator ring, the coliseum, this United States world that you operate in, you get a job in, you compete with other workers. This is the coliseum. You're in the Caesar's game. You didn't really ask to be put in the game, but you were placed in the game, whether you like it or not. And some of us are trying to find a way out of the game. Some of us do really good at the game. Some don't. And there's some people that realize they're in the game. They're in Caesar's Coliseum fighting for their life. And all they want is to be out on the land living the way God intended them to live. Growing their own food, taking care of their neighbors. This idea isn't too old. Capitalism's only about 200 years old in this country. Have you ever wondered why most cultures, I didn't know who my great-grandparents were. My grandparents did not think it was important one bit to explain who or where we came from. We got a general overview, but they never sat us down and explained and showed pictures, or it's like, hey, these are your grandparents, this is what they were good at, they did this is how they got here. this was their parents. They did this, you know. These are the stories, you know. You shine them in a positive light because no one's perfect. We all make mistakes, you know. We're humans. But you got to give, like, I there's an incentive for us not to know our past. There's because constantly there's always been people trying to, like, capture our value, pretty much like capture us in bubbles so that they can monetize off of us. It's been that way since the beginning of man. It's pretty much slavery, indentured servitude, and fighting to get out, you know, or someone trying to take ownership of dominance over another person. And so the more we realize these concepts and can articulate these concepts and be aware of them, and we can also, you know, make policymakers that can shape policy in that way. Um, at this point in our world, I'm fairly confident that there are global governance that set policy that federal government follows, and that trickles down all the way to city and state and local municipalities. So I already think there's a global governance. It's not discussed because it's not the right time. It will be acknowledged eventually in the future once the humans are um, they're modified, behaviorally modified to a certain way. The idea is to get the people ignorant enough not to even realize that, I would suppose. Like I said, in Russia, Stalin, they this whole environment you're in, this Coliseum, Caesar's Coliseum that you're fighting for survival in, there's an incentive for you just to be a dumb putz and pretty much get monetized off of and just get your head bashed in and pay fines all day long. There's a huge incentive for that to be the case. There's some guys out there, some gladiators that are able to fight and bring home the bacon and really put in a good day's work, a good effort, and whatever they do, and they're able to live to fight another day, and they're given better products, better accommodations to sleep, better outfits to fight with, you know, better whatever, but they're still just captured. They're fighting in the Coliseum. And so I'm trying to get us, it's like also being in the Matrix. You know, these guys developed this Matrix before we even existed. And then we got birthed into it and we got thrusted into this work matrix where we're paying Social Security and we're paying all these taxes and we're obligated to all these things that we had no part of, you know. So think about it like that. That might be also a political theory, a mindset, a way of thinking that the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, does that even apply to us? Really? Does that even apply to us? Does that even apply now? None of us were parties to it. None of us signed that document. Do we give ownership to the founding fathers that did sign it? We got to think about these things. It might be time for a new Declaration of Independence. It might be time that we fight another, hopefully non-violent, but it might be time that we start striving for another deal, a new deal, a new Declaration of Independence. I say we take all this stuff that we have, all the available stuff, and just take it under the new government. Seize it all. Seize all of it. And have it pretty much managed back again so we can get it to some kind of competitive level. And that sounds kind of crazy, but I think the whole system's been so I think, you know, the interests that are set in it, if guys like you and I, if we want to have any kind of like vested interest in this world, that we're going to have to pretty much get rid of the people that are running it now and the systems that they use, because they're not going to share it with us. They're going to hold it and dangle it in front of our face, but they're not going to share it with us because it's already been divvied up, and the people that it's divvied up are fighting for it too. And eventually you'll have people jumping off, probably, blowing the whistle, that thought in that life, that are willing to blow the whistle and tell people. So that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the system that we have now, the federal government, that is so compromised that it is not able to function and actually accommodate for us. And it's unable to serve us in a way that benefits us to the greatest degree. And so, that being the case, I feel that we do need a new Declaration of Independence and a new system unhindered by obligations and all kinds of promises that we were never a part of, agreements that we never agreed to. And that's thinking in reality. That's the here and now. That's not working off of assumptions. The world wants us to work. The people that are running the matrix want us to work off of assumptions. They want us to work within the box, the 4 quadrants. They'll put a box. They'll give you a box and they'll say, "Oh, pick out or work within that." And you'll work within a box your whole life, and you'll realize, and some people never even get out of the box. Some people realize that there is actually more than what's outside of the box, but it's very dangerous, and it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of concentration, and you have to be it's pretty much ultimate self-liability, and most people can't handle self-liability, where you and you alone are responsible for your life. It's tough. I don't know if I could do it, but that's the reality we're living in. And sometimes, when's it going to get to the point that you are going to say, "Hey, I would rather take the chance and live on my own than have to live with all this weight, this burden on me, the burden that the matrix has placed upon you, and while you have that burden on you, that weight that's weighing you down, you're also supposed to perform as well." So yeah, that's why the competition is so tough right now, and it's hyper competition. But the guys that are being hyper competitive, it's like there are guys that are able to make it and eventually get to retirement. They make enough money that they're able to retire at 65 and live the life they want. I don't know. By then, it's already, my grandpa, he retired and he only got a few months, or maybe 2 years of retirement before he got cancer and the chemo killed him. So, think about it like that. I mean, it's great serving your community, but it's like, it gets to the point where the community just demands so damn much out of you, and it's like, it shouldn't be like that, There's plenty of people that we can all share some responsibility of lifting this burden. But what it seems like is less people are taking on that burden, that responsibility burden, and they're acting like that they can operate in an environment and make all kinds of moves, and that those moves will not have any effect on them and their community. But think about it like this: if you choose to sell drugs in your community, there's going to be other guys that want to do that too. And if you do that for years, and if you're an influential person, before you know it, there's going to be a bunch of people in your community that are selling drugs. And then, so when everyone's selling drugs, they can't be liable for, they can't be accountable because they're selling drugs. They're literally breaking the law too. So they can't hold other people accountable. I mean, they should, but, so all kinds of criminality gets away with, it pretty much the degradation of a community. Individuals who make up the community. If an individual is corrupt, and depending on their scale of corruption, if a community becomes corrupt, because all the individual guys, they think, their actions don't matter and that their actions, have no consequence in reality on the next guy in their whole community, and they all start you being all criminal and stuff, community falls out. And then before you know it, it's like a war zone on your own streets. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're working with, And people just like, they promote silence, they promote, all the stuff, but you gotta speak out. Because if you don't, these guys are just gonna come over and crack your skull and, take your milkshake. Just think about it like that. And, yeah. Would you rather be dead or live in a place where you have to be like, you have to kind of like, of course, in a society, you're going to have to dumb yourself down to be able to, because you have to operate with everyone, and you want to, well, that's the thing. It's like, and it gets to a point where it's like, how much does the individual have to give for the community, And that's the issue we're going to have. There's some guys that are spending half their income on taxes. I spend 20% of my income on taxes. I was spending 30. It's like ridiculous. So if you're spending 20% of your income on taxes, you're working every day. If you're working 5 days a week, one of those days is going to the tax man. And if you're doing 30%, then that means that if you're doing like 33%, that means that 4 out of the 12 months are for the federal government. You're working 4 months out of 3 just for the state. Or you're working 4 months out of the 12 just for the state. Think about it like that, Is that the world we want? If you have to complain about taxes, you shouldn't really complain. You're in the wrong business. That's what they say. But, when it comes to taxes, and then with depreciation of value, constantly diminishing marginal returns, once you add all those things up and together, it can become maddening. And, why wouldn't it drive people to criminality, selling drugs and human trafficking, make ends meet? And who knows, maybe there's an incentive to tighten up the economy, and because they tighten up the economy, they know that there's statistically a certain amount of people that won't be able. So when money supply is tightened up, these economists know that when they tighten up the money supply, and there's going to be people that can't pay off their debts. It's just naturally. It's not to do with the personality of the person, but literally there's just not going to be enough money in the environment for everyone to pay off their debts. And so there's natural losers built into the system. So when you see a guy that's lost his house and bankrupt and stuff, sometimes that's just business, and you can be enthusiastic and want to start a business, but the reality of a business is sometimes it has to do with the luck, and just God's will, that too. And sometimes, you take the risk and it's just not there. And so, the system that we have. So, there's my complaining about taxes and stuff, and pretty much paying dues. It goes back and also paying dues, Guys are going to get out of paying dues. And when I talk about dues, I'm talking about things that aren't money. Like if you're a handyman for someone, or you're working for some guy, and you're the business owner, and he's buying your service, and you're talking to him, he pays you for the work you did. But, something paying dues would be talking to him for about 20, 30 minutes, even though you got things to do. You don't want to talk to this guy. This guy wants to talk to you. He paid you for your service, so you're done there. But, things like that, or that's what paying dues is. Or spending time. It's really time. Paying dues are the things that you do when you give your time away for free. And within that, you might not learn too much, but investing your time into someone else, that especially if they're if they're your patron, your customer, and you're looking forward to their business, um yeah, you pay your dues, and you have to laugh at, like, see things in their way. If you want to continue having their business, you have to see things in their way. So that's kind of what we're at right now. So, living in the United States. So if you want to enjoy the accoutrements of life, then you have to live within, you have to pay your dues and live according to their statutes and laws and customs. So yeah, if you want it, you gotta play by their rules. But then again, it's like, how bad do you want it, And the rate at which you want it is probably correlated with the degree at which you might not realize there are other options out there. So if you think this is the only game in town, yeah, you're going to want to do the best. You're going to want to be the best. But if you realize that there are other options out there, so instead of, there are side routes. There are not just the options given to us. There are ways that we can manipulate reality to make options available that would benefit everyone. And maybe those options, we have to critically think about it, these things. So when we're caught in moments, when we think that we only have certain options available, but it turns out there's like lots of different options, and like a contract. Not all contracts, but some contracts. If you are presented with a contract, and if you're not interested in clauses within that contract, you're more than welcome to modify that contract and send the modified contract back to the original guy. You're allowed to negotiate. And that's what they don't want you to know. The powers that be don't want you to realize that you can negotiate. This is your life. This is your energy. You make it possible. Without you believing in this whole matrix, it won't exist, because it's just a psychological concept on top of reality that we work with in our brains. It only exists in our brains. It doesn't exist out in the public, maybe in the form of infrastructure. Yeah. That was pretty deep. I think maybe I've been just repeating a lot of stuff, but it was a good episode. We covered a bunch of stuff. We covered lookalikes, Kapernak's wife, a little deeper into Kaepernick and Kanye's life, or their whole situation. We touched on Beyonce using doubles and lookalikes. What else? I talked a lot about, I brought up the Russian Stalin and the Planet of the Apes. The guy that wrote Planet of the Apes was a French spy that might have seen actual ape people. And the overall, and yeah, I was talking about lookalikes and clones. When I say clones, maybe they're using clones, I don't know, but lookalikes and doubles are more than likely, or maybe lobotomized originals too. drugged out individuals, modified behavior with all kinds of drugs. That's what I mean by clones. Also, we talked about the Matrix, escaping the Matrix, and why the Matrix that we have now, we should look at with a critical eye. That we should understand that we're in a circus, the Matrix / circus, and realize that's what Jesus wanted. He was saying that we have the earth the whole time. We don't have to subscribe to these, you have God before you have government. So if you can maintain a peaceful life with God and maintain his law, you really, don't need government. It's all in the Bible, apparently. I don't read the Bible and stuff, but Jesus had great teachings, and the point is that maybe government and an organization is proper for society. Like I said, we're pretty much on the pursuit of angelic, godlike abilities, and that's the only thing I can suppose with this technology. We're trying to get to be able to start things. Oh, Janie. All right, guys. Well, Janie's calling this episode in. Y'all enjoy. We'll come back with some more information, but I'm surprised I got an hour and a half out of this again, and we'll talk again soon. I'll try to have some cooking stuff come up next. All right, enjoy, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys get something out of this.